It is 10 minutes after 6, and I now call to order the Town Council meeting of Bowling Green, Virginia. Would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now take a roll call. Ms. Davis? Mr. Voigt?
I'm here.
Mr. Webb? Dr. Chenault?
Here.
Vice Mayor Coyle?
Here.
Mr. Stork?
Here.
Mr. Hageman?
Here.
All members are present and we have a quorum. The next item on here is the consent agenda. I would like to pull out number 5. Are there any other, does council need to pull out any of these items?
Oh, I make a motion that we approve 1 through 4 then.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilman Stork, a second from Councilman Voigt. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 1 through 4, motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, our strategic planning retreat minutes. I went through those. There was no mention of council's desire to have the mayor put on the checking account, which has not been done yet. So I want that reflected because we did have discussion about that at the meeting and Mr. Rohr was also there.
So I'm confused because our code says the mayor and town treasurer or finance are to be on checks.
Yes, we went all through that at the meeting.
So if it says it in there, what's
And I'm
the
still
challenge?
not on the checking account, but it was not reflected in the minutes, and that's what I want. Reflected a change in the minutes.
So, Madam Mayor, by the way of our minutes are not typically verbatim minutes, and that was addressed in the code administration update since then, but if that's what you would desire and council would desire, we can do that, but that was addressed as an action item after the retreat and has since been adopted in the code.
So, I mean, I think if that reflects the discussion of that meeting, that's, I don't see a problem with amending the minutes, but to follow up on the manager's comments, you've amended your code now per the direction of council.
Right.
Just so everyone knows, the way it's now set out is it's staff, so it's the treasurer or and the manager, and the mayor is the signatory in the event that both of those two are not available. I believe isn't that the
I
language?
believe it's if the manager is incapacitated.
Yes,
but we
so,
can.
So it's like a contingent signatory. Just
Correct.
so everyone knows, that's the new code
Right.
provision.
Well, I'm not on the checking account yet, so it hasn't been fulfilled.
We just updated the code, I believe, at the last meeting, but we can definitely make sure that happens quickly for you.
Thank you. So we don't need to amend it. Can I have a motion to pass number 5 on the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the minutes from the council retreat.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Stork, a second from Vice Mayor Coyle. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. We will now go to item number 6. We're going to have a public hearing on fats, oils, and grease, FOG.
Just hand it over to staff.
At this time, I will hand this over to our town manager.
Madam Mayor, at the last meeting, Mark and Bowden from Both Environmental Services drafted and presented the fog ordinance that has been reviewed by staff as well as the attorney. Mr. Jamie Sylvius from Embolden is here today, who can answer any questions as it relates to this. But the item is now available to be open for public comment, for public hearings.
At this time, I would like to open public comment. If you have anything to say when you come up, please give your name and your address. You have 3 minutes to speak. And you will address me, the mayor, not council, please. We will not be responding to you. It is against our rules. Is there anyone wishing to speak at this public hearing? Going once, going twice. Closing public comment. Ms. Adams-Jacobs, do you have any information you would like to impart at this time, or?
As it relates to the public hearing item, no. Mr. Sylvius, if you want to come up and speak to how it would potentially be implemented, if you want to do that at this time. Otherwise, the action would happen later in the meeting for that item.
So the fog ordinance is really there and inspected for a level of grease and can send samples off, and if it's in violation, then there would be a fine attached to that, and it's all there just to protect the sewer system and the wastewater plant, because it wreaks havoc on all of that. It ruins pumps and such. Anything?
Are there any questions from council to Mr. Solis? Thank you. We will take action on this later on in the agenda. At this time, if there's no other discussion, I'd like to close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 7, our next public hearing. We have a public hearing on the Route 301 Special Tax District Ordinance Amendment. At this time, I will open up the public hearing, and I will open up public comment. Again, you have state your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. I have a Mr. Ken Swain signed up to speak at this time. Sir, would you come forward?
And if you like, it would help. I could explain it before people come.
That would be nice. We'll do that.
I'm not on the other ones, but okay.
I may have signed up for the wrong one. I was here for the rezoning.
No problem. Nice to see you. Yes, sir.
See you a little bit.
Is there anyone else desiring to speak at this time? Mr. Bagat?
I'm Mike Bagat. Well, thank you for having me. Special district tax, I do have a few questions. Is that special district tax is for especially businesses and business property? Is there is so much inconsistency in taxes? I noticed my bill has gone up 133%, and there is some council member I see they've been here since that special district ordinance is adopted in 2004. Saying that, I would urge all council members, if you can, take off that special district tax for all those property owners and leave it as a town tax. Because just giving example, $5,000 just for special district tax for water sewer. Plus we pay a regular real estate tax. So, and it has gone up from 24, which is special district tax supposed to be constant figure. And I'm having hard time to understand that. Also, as a public knowledge, I know that special district tax property law, 76 supposed to be by town. So you look into it. I would urge that you look at carefully and just remove that special district tax. That's what, unless you have a real solid reason why we need to pay, and it's keep on rising. It hasn't gone down after 15 years. So it's very, and the next deadline to finish that tax is, I heard, it's at 2059 by the time I'll be there. So thank you, whatever decision you guys make, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bagat. Is there anyone else desiring to speak at this time? At this time, I will close public comment, and I'm going to turn this over to our town attorney to explain a little bit about the 301 Special Tax District Ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. So what's before you tonight is not an ordinance to repeal the tax district. It's not an ordinance to change the tax district. The tax district was set up by council in 2011 to cover a percentage of the expenditures to expand water and sewer to that corridor identified in the ordinance and properties in that corridor that at the time did not have water and sewer, right? So the ordinance under state law created the district, which allows the council to add a special assessment to those properties, to the real property tax. Around $3.7 million of debt was incurred back at that time for the expansion of water and sewer. And that debt has a couple times been refinanced, but in order to lower the interest rate the last time. But the ordinance that was passed in 2011 calls for council to be able to apportion 25% of that debt payment through the special assessment to those properties, right? So those properties aren't bearing the entire cost of the expansion of water and sewer there, which was done for economic development purposes at the time. They're bearing 26% of the cost, and the speaker was right. The balance of that would just fall on the general taxpayer. So in the course of looking at that debt that still exists, and you've had multiple meetings explaining that, we realized that there were some questions about the tax district ordinance. And that's all this ordinance does before you deny it, is clarify a few points. One, it gives a little bit of history of the ordinance in the whereas clauses, which I just went over. The other thing it does is clarify that if it is a taxable property under state law and local ordinance, it's subject to the assessment. If it's not a taxable property, if it's some form of charitable entity that under state law or under local ordinance has been designated as not subject to real property tax, then that property is exempt from the special assessment because that property doesn't under law pay property taxes. That was not crystal clear in the wording of the 2011 ordinance that designated the charitable properties at the time, which some have since changed hands and are no longer under that charitable nonprofit designation. So one thing it does is clarify if it's a taxable property, it gets the assessment. If it's not a taxable property, it doesn't. The assessment's not applied. The other thing that it does, there's one other clarification. it includes an updated list of the taxable properties by parcel number, and a map showing a sort of a GIS outline of the district. That's really about all it does. So what's before you tonight is just really a clarification and update of the existing ordinance. It's not an expansion of the district. It doesn't add parcels to the district. It doesn't subtract. It doesn't change the 26% provision that you're allowed to assess a portion, a part of the existing debt. And so that's what's before you tonight, and that's what was advertised. And so the only other thing about the debt going out to 2050, and this has been covered as well, council has made a decision, I think has made a formal decision at a prior meeting to pay it faster than pay that portion down faster than the current amortization. In other words, pay it down according to the prior schedule, which I think is around 2041. I don't know where our manager is. That what it is? 2040, 2041?
I think it was 41.
All right. So I think council has made that decision. So it's not going to be extended out. So, after that point, it would fall off. I think that covers it. I'm happy to answer questions. But again, this is really just a clarifying update for council, for the public, for the property owners, and for posterity, so that future councils don't have to figure this out again. I think this just sort of sets the record straight.
Are there any questions from council to the attorney at this time? Mr. Voigt?
Got just one. Speaking of ambiguity in the old version, does this one speak nice and accurately to make sure that it captures all the land that, like if the land gets subdivided, combined, or boundary adjustments, things like that?
Yes, that was the other clarification. It slipped my mind. Thank you, Councilman Voigt. The other clarification is that because, of course, parcels from time to time, subject to the subdivision ordinance, can be subdivided. I think some probably have since 2011. So it does explain that if a subdivided parcel that is taxable, you don't suddenly create a parcel that's not subject to the special assessment, right? Again, any taxable parcel that's created from a subdivided current parcel would be subject to the assessment. So that is made clear as well.
Any other questions? Ms. Adams-Jacobs, I want to confirm the date on this is 2041.
It's not on the ordinance, but yeah.
That was the question asked.
Correct. That was the scenario that council selected to have the debt paid through 2041 through the scenario 2 instead of 2059.
Correct. Okay. Anything else at this time? I will now close this public hearing. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the proposed insurance of general obligation bonds of the town in the maximum principal amount of $3,200,000. I now open the public hearing for this. At this time, if there is anyone wishing to speak, I will open up public comment. Going once, twice. I will now close public comment. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to the town manager.
You can go ahead and open public comment for the next item, or public hearing for the next item.
So we have nothing to speak about on this then?
It's under new business.
So before you have the rezoning case 2026-001 Fairmont, and I'll have staff come up, but we will officially still need the public hearing officially opened.
This public hearing?
Yes.
So we will just continue this public hearing later in the meeting? Is that what you're saying?
The action. It's an action item later. Discuss it.
Okay. I know it's an action item later. At this time, can I close the public hearing?
You need to open it first.
She already had.
I did open it.
On the bond.
She's still talking about it.
I thought she was on to the next item. Oh, then yes, no, we have nothing else. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
We're good.
Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Now we will move on.
Mayor Gamble,
Yes, sir.
I would like to recuse myself from participation in the Fairmont rezoning discussion. I do have an ownership interest in the LLC that is applying for that rezoning request. I did provide you with a written statement for the files, but I'm going to just sit out in the audience and listen.
At this time, I will accept that decision, and yes, you have provided me with a disclosure of personal interests and disqualification pursuant to Virginia Code 2-2.2-3115F. And I will pass this down to be entered into the official record. And at this time, I will open the public hearing for the rezoning case 2026-001 Fairmont. The public hearing is now open, and I will, at this time, open this up for public comment. I have a list of people, and I guess I need to add a name because he was on the wrong list. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, members of Town Council, Ms. Adam Jacobs. I'm Darla Odom. I'm here. I work with the town relative to planning and zoning matters, and I was going to read you into this public hearing this evening to review staff's analysis of the proposed rezoning case. I'll get the we'll get that to load up. While that's happening, I'll just let you know that this is, as the Madam Mayor stated, rezoning case 2026-01. Fairmont Land LLC is requesting rezoning from Business B2 District to Plan Unit Development PUD District. Here. These will cut the lights down a little bit up near the. Okay. That's fine. Good. So if you would go to the next slide, please. This is looking sort of a flyover, if you will, into the property. There's the subject property is identified there. If you look at the property, it fronts Route 301 or AP Hill Boulevard, and just at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you see East Broadus Avenue. Lakewood Road runs from the north of the subject property around towards the back side of the property. I know you all can locate it on there. The subject property is 19.47 acres. It fronts approximately 985 feet on the northwest line of Route 301, approximately 535 feet north of its intersection with East Broadus Avenue. The subject property is a vacant wooded property. It is near Cossack Creek, abuts the subject property to the south. Property to the west includes a pond, is within Caroline County. A pond is also located in the vicinity of the subject property on the adjacent property, generally to the northeast. Next slide, please. This also shows shows the subject property. It's a little bit closer in look. What you'll see is the subject property here. It does involve parcels 43A34 and 43E1, 4R, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can see Route 301 and East Broadus Avenue, as well as Miracosset Creek just to the south, generally, of the subject property. Next slide, please. This is the zoning map for the town. The subject property is identified here in the zoning map. It is currently zoned B2, as I stated before, and they're requesting to rezone it to the PUD district. Surrounding properties to the north, west, and south are currently zoned agricultural A1 and are vacant wooded parcels or are occupied by larger lot single-family residential use. Properties to the southeast across Route 301 are zoned B2 and are occupied by commercial uses or are vacant wooded parcels. This map is from the town's comprehensive plan. This is the town's adopted future land use map. And the subject property is identified here. It's shown as part of the purple area. That's the subject property is circled there. The town's comprehensive plan recognizes that growth will come to Bowling Green and that growth is beneficial to bring new money into the town's economy and also to increase tax revenues. The plan recognizes the importance of the future land use map to provide the right mix or right balance, if you will, of residential, commercial, and industrial land uses to meet the demands of growth without sacrificing Bowling Green's small town charm and quality of life. This future land use map identifies the subject 19.47 acre property as part of a larger mixed use future land use area. That whole purple area that you see there, that the subject property is just at the southern end of, that is the area on the future land use map that's identified as a mixed use area. This was adopted with some of the changes that occurred in some of the comprehensive plan considerations in 2022. This is an area where the plan suggests that mixed use is appropriate, that concentration on commercial uses would be part of the consideration of this area. The subject property and the proposal before you adds a maximum amount of commercial uses permitted by the PUD district, which is a maximum of 5%. And with this proposal, they would be adding 16,880 square feet of commercial use. The plan states that this mixed-use area is intended to provide a variety of land uses, not only commercial, but also a variety of housing types and prices, lot sizes and densities, and architectural variety. The plan suggests that these developments should be compact, walkable communities, and that the mixed land uses would encompass a variety of both retail and office and commercial uses and a variety of residential uses, including higher density, accessory apartments, and residential units over commercial uses. The plan offers that other uses would be appropriate. It might include educational facilities, cottage industries, such as perhaps coffee roastery, some of those smaller cottage type uses, live work projects, recreational facilities, and compatible public and civic facilities. The plan also suggests that pedestrian access should be required as an alternative to automobile reliance, and that should be carried out throughout the community to ensure continuity among the various land uses that are proposed within this mixed-use area, as well as connectivity back with the town. The plan recommends that transitional uses or through a project design considerations should be given to allow for some transitions between various types of uses, but also continuing to still provide connectivity with the street networks as well as pedestrian connectivity. Within the mixed-use land use area adopted again in 2022, the policies there were policies added to the comprehensive plan to guide the mixed-use developments. It's important to note that the comprehensive plan is not regulatory, such as with the zoning ordinance, but is rather a guide with recommendations for the development. In the staff analysis on pages 4 through 6, there is a chart on each one of these pages that summarizes the 16 policies of the mixed-use land use area. And with this, there is the summary of the comprehensive plan policy. There's also a summary of the applicant's response relative to that requirement or policy of the comprehensive plan, and then staff's evaluation of the case and whether or not the project is in conformity with the policies or recommendations of the comprehensive plan. So if you look at those, and I won't go through each one of them with you tonight because I know that you've had the opportunity to look over these, but it talks about high quality standards relative to site layout, building configurations, materials, massing and height of buildings, landscaping. Basically, the overall site design should incorporate high quality. And there are a lot of aspects of the current proposal that does include those aspects, and so staff has noted here that it does conform. There are, the plan suggests incorporating public open spaces, and the plan does that. They are actually including public open spaces that would include a public park with, that has its amenities already to be constructed as part of that park. That would include a playground, a pavilion with a bathroom, parking areas. Since the Planning Commission's meeting and listening to some of the Planning Commission comments, the proposal, the applicant added to the proposal that there would also be bike racks and a grill space in the public park area. There's a walking trail that they've incorporated along the, within the RPA buffer adjacent to Maricosset Creek. And so it goes on, and like I said, I'm not going to go through each one of those, but I'll be happy to answer any question about those. Next slide. Okay. This is the general development plan that was submitted with the application. It does show a mixed-use development with tree-lined streets, usable open spaces, and a variety of attached and detached residential dwelling types, as well as commercial and office uses. The development would include a total of 147 dwelling units. 43 of those would be the detached single-family dwellings, which you see around the outer boundary and also internally around the public park. That would be the detached single-family dwelling units. 40 attached single-family dwellings or townhouses, and 64 multifamily residential dwellings, including 2 vertical mixed-use buildings, which are the 2 buildings on the left side of actually on the right side of the entrance, excuse me, coming into the property. There are 2 buildings there that would have the vertical mixed use. They are proposing an overall density of 7.55 dwelling units per acre. This falls within the guidance of the PUD ordinance as well as the comprehensive plan, which suggests that 10 dwelling units per acre or a maximum of 10 dwelling units per acre is appropriate. There are commercial and office uses that I've talked about, 16,880 square feet. That is planned on the first floor of the 2 mixed-use, vertical mixed-use buildings. The development also shows here that there is a public park we talked about, a walking trail. If you look at the open space that surrounds the development from the left side over to the western side, or the southern side and western side, that would be a trail within the RPA. There are sidewalks on both sides of all of the internal streets with crosswalks. They've added a crosswalk after some input from the Planning Commission at Emory Lane to assist with access to the public park. There also is a shared use path that the applicant has agreed to construct. This 10-foot wide shared use path would connect the property. It would be constructed from the property back out to East Broadus Avenue, and then it also would be extended along East Broadus Avenue. And this plan also includes now, after public input at the Planning Commission meeting, an additional extension of sidewalk on the north side of East Broadus that would connect to the existing sidewalk on that side of the road. So that's also in here now. The conditions address the quality site design and architectural design standards the building materials that will be used, landscaping, and decorative site lighting. And so they all are included within the property conditions as well as identified on this general development plan. The property conditions require development of the property to be in substantial conformance with this general development plan. Next slide, please. So I've talked a little bit about the quality site and architectural design. The applicant has proffered these requirements, and basically they've been sensitive to and have incorporated the environmental features into the site design. There are landscaping transitions that are provided as well as tree-lined streets. They've offered hardscape driveways and front walks to each of the dwellings, each of the single-family dwellings, and there would be decorative site lighting. They've provided an example of that light as part of their general development plan. And they also are going to have specific quality building materials, and specifically they'll use masonry, siding. They would be allowed to have hardy plank, that cementitious siding, and then they would also, if they're going to have vinyl, the vinyl has to be of a certain width. 0.44 is the width that's considered quality as far as vinyl. They're also having varied elevations for their architectural treatment. They would have masonry foundations and front porches. They would have 30-year guaranteed architectural dimensional shingles for the roofs, and they would have upgraded garage doors. Side by side, none of the dwellings, the single-family dwellings or the townhouses, would be allowed to have the same architectural design or material color scheme, so that you don't ride through the development and it looks like a cookie cutter, if you will. So one of the things that you will have is variety along the streetscapes, which helps to keep developments like townhomes from having a barracks type of look. We'll leave that to the Fort Wright area. But so with this, it adds quality to the overall development. So there would be varied elevations, even for the portion of the property that is the commercial and apartment portion. They have proffered that there would be varied roof lines and varied elevations, but there would be four-sided equal architecture, meaning that none of the four sides of the building would have less detail than the other sides, and that they would also have a certain percentage of those facades, 30% at a minimum, would be masonry. They are going to be screening mechanical equipment, whether that it's rooftop equipment or ground-mounted equipment, and they have offered some variety to break up the massing of the larger apartment buildings and mixed-use buildings with architectural variety, but also having overall cohesive residential character. Next slide, please. Part of the discussion and review of this case was to look at it from an impact that the proposed development may have on the town itself. So the application was routed to the various town reviewing departments as well as some from the county to address, is there capacity? What would be the impact of this many dwelling units with the additional commercial space on the town overall? And so the report outlines this. From an environmental and cultural resources perspective, the Virginia Department of Historic Resources, United States Department of Interior, and the town's comprehensive plan, according to those documents, there are no cultural resources located on the subject property that would be impacted. There is the resource protection area that we talked about, and there would be no impact on the resource protection area except for a trail that would have to be constructed in compliance with the requirements of the ordinance for that area. Basically, it would have to meander through the RPA without creating disturbance, taking trees out, those kinds of things, and that would be a mulch trail. Relative to traffic impacts, the VDOT has agreed on the location with the applicants for the main entrance, right in, right out onto 301, and then also relative to the emergency access, which is proposed at the northern boundary of the subject property. And that was also reviewed by the Fire and Emergency Medical Service folks. And they agreed that that emergency access was appropriate. They did suggest some standards for how it would be constructed, that it would be able to handle a heavy vehicle if it pulled off and was waiting to get into the gate, an emergency vehicle. And it also would have what's called a Knox box. So that could be accessed easily by the fire or rescue folks if they needed to get in that way. Relative to water and sewer, the town's contractors that have been working with the water and sewer facilities reviewed the application, and they provided a statement, a letter, and that's in the report. They've looked at the flow that was suggested by the applicants, and they said that Bowling Green has sufficient water and sewer system capacity to serve the proposed Fairmont development. In addition, the project would be served by the town's trash collection, and they would work that out at the time of site plan. The Fire and Emergency Medical Service, Caroline County Fire Rescue, stated that they have no objections to the proposal. This is on page 8 of your report. They feel like that with the proposed approximately 350 residents, that they did not anticipate, they anticipated the impact to be minimal and manageable within the county's current operational capacity. No extraordinary service demands. They worked with the applicant to review and make a few changes to the general development plan that would accommodate their larger vehicles that would need to have access to, so there'd be appropriate turning radiuses. And then, like I said, they approved the emergency access gate. Caroline County Schools reviewed the application, and they agreed with the number of students that would be anticipated to be generated with this request. So that's included in the report. They also say that they would feel like that workforce-related housing is important within the community, that they have approximately 50% of the schools division's employees commute into Caroline County from surrounding jurisdictions, and as part of their ongoing recruitment and retention efforts, the availability of affordable and attainable housing within the county is an important consideration for both prospective and current employees. And then the proposal was also sent out to look at from an economic impact analysis to see what the impacts would be relative to taxes, connection fees, commercial use impacts, and what benefits may come from any new residential or visitor spending, and also job creation. This is in your report. In summary, basically, there would be, for the town taxes, a one-time let's talk about the water and sewer connection fees first. That would be approximately $1.436 million for between 2027 and 2030 for the water and sewer connection fees. Those are one-time fees. There would be real estate taxes, which would be approximately $66,300 annually. And there would also be water and sewer usage fees, which would generate approximately $181,000 annually, and that the renter occupied units would generate approximately $11,124 annually. Personal property taxes are estimated to have a revenue of about $59,000, and that there were trash pickup fees, a little almost $35,000 in income by 2029, and for a portion of whatever the development may have on, or they may be paying meals taxes, then that was anticipated to be between $162,000 and $294,000 annually after 2030. And then the study went in to talk about when you have new development like this, it brings new money in. It brings new money in because of the new residents, but it also brings new money in for visitors, either to those new businesses or to those new residences. And so they've calculated that. This was a study done through Virginia Tech, and they calculated the new residential spending to 5.1 to 8.6 million, and the impact on the new visitor spending between 768,000, 775,000. So the overall between those two, Virginia Tech estimates that the new visitor and new resident spending would bring between 2.1 million and 4.5 million in revenue into the town. The new businesses would be projected to create a little over 16 to almost 30 new full-time jobs or equivalents within the town. Next slide, please. With this request, the applicants are seeking 3 modifications to the current standards of the ordinance. This is not unusual when you have a planned unit development, because in a planned unit development, it is allowing a development that doesn't fit, the cookie cutter, if you will, standards of like an R1 district. If it did, then they would be asking to zone it to R1. But they're asking to zone it to planned unit development because it allows flexibility in the overall design of the project to then allow a unique product to come out. In this case, they're meeting minimum standards of the ordinance for PUD, except in these 3 areas. One is the maximum building height. They want a modification to the building height of 35 feet to allow a 45-foot tall, so it'd be a 10-foot modification. They're asking for the 45-foot tall buildings. The applicant explained that the taller structure, if utilized, would permit greater architectural variety, especially in roof lines that they can modify, and also would allow screening of the roof-mounted mechanical equipment, and would also permit possible rooftop amenities. The second exception that they're requesting is to open space. The PUD standards in the ordinance require a 50% of the total project to be in open space. In this case, out of the 19.47 acres, that would be 9.74 acres of open space in the development. The applicants are providing 6.39 acres of open space, which is 33%. But I think it's important to note, and staff is supportive of the modification, because relative to the on-site open space, they're not just counting wetland areas or RP areas as open space. They actually are incorporating usable open spaces in the development, and part of that is the public park, which would have the amenities in it and open to the community. They also have, the whole development is walkable, which is important from an open space standpoint. And they also are agreeing that prior to the 40th certificate of occupancy being issued, that they will actually construct all of these amenities, and they also will construct the 10-foot wide shared use path, which would connect this project back through the sidewalk that's on the north side of East Broadus Avenue, but it also runs through the entire property and would be able to be picked up for the next development that comes along within this mixed-use area.
Just hold up a minute so it's caught. Thank you, Ms. Darla. You're pulling it. It's connected.
Pass it down. Pass it down.
Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to
Share my,
scoot my papers over real quick.
do that to David. I know.
All right, let's see. We were talking about the modifications, and we were talking about the open space. I think consideration should be given to the fact that they're also proffering to construct and agreeing to construct the 10-foot wide shared use path, which adds approximately 1.5 acres to the open space that they're providing, if you will, even though that portion of it is off-site. I think that, you know, while we're not counting it, and we're still saying they need an exception to the 33% or 6+ acres that they're providing, consideration should be given that once they build this shared use path, that's an additional 1.5 acres, which makes their total open space 7.89 acres or 40.5% of open space. The third exception that they're requesting is to the provision that no streets within the PUD district should be private. I'm not sure why that's in your PUD ordinance. However, I think it's intended that it's important to have public streets within the development. But with a PUD design, when you have dwellings such as the townhomes that face a public road, it's often a practice in the traditional neighborhood setting that you have alleys that serve the backside of the townhomes. And those alleys, of course, would be private and would be maintained by the homeowners association. So given these considerations, staff finds that granting the 3 modifications to the PUD zoning district regulations is appropriate. Okay, so the proffered conditions in this case, we've talked about them. They're listed here. You know, they have to comply with the GDP. If there are any minor modifications to the GDP, that would have to be approved by the zoning administrator at the time of site plan. They have the landscaping we've talked about, the density, transportation, water and sewer, the amenities, the architectural design elements, site lighting, all of those are proffered in the case, which means they become law and they're enforceable for this development. So I think that we've talked about those. I won't go into any more detail unless you have any questions. The Planning Commission, following their public hearing at their meeting last month, voted unanimously to recommend approval of this case to you. Staff also recommends approval of this case, subject to the 3 conditions in attachment 1 of the staff report and acceptance of the proffered conditions in attachment 2. The proposal complies with the comprehensive plan as we've discussed. There's quality site and architectural design that are being offered in this case. There's housing variety that the plan recommends, and also commercial uses are appropriate. There's no negative impact to the town's infrastructure or servicing facilities that we've heard from those various departments. The modifications that are requested are appropriate to offer the flexibility that's needed for the PUD, and it is planned along the town's periphery, which the comprehensive plan suggests if you're going, this would be an appropriate place based on the future land use map for this type of mixed-use development. And based on the economic analysis, the overall development would have a positive impact on the town. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Ms. Odom, at this time, we'll save the questions for later on when we take action on this. At this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment for this public hearing. You have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and your address. Direct your comments to me as per our rules. Council cannot respond to your comments. I'm blinded at the moment. The first person on this list is Ms. Diane Smith from Fort AP Hill. Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. This one? Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gamble. I'm Diane Smith. I'm from Fort A.P. Hill. And we are proud to be part of this community, and we're committed to being a good neighbor. I'm here tonight to discuss some ways that the success of this proposed development, as well as our mission, can go hand in hand to enhance our compatibility. As you know, our mission involves critical training exercises. For nearby residents, this can mean experiencing periodic noise, vibration, smoke, and aviation operations. It is a unique aspect of living near an active military installation. We have a couple of requests. The first is proactive and transparent communication. To ensure future residents are fully informed, we request that the project proffers include real estate disclosures. This simple, proactive step ensures transparency from day one and manages expectations by informing future residents that they're moving next to a dynamic military environment. Our second request is protecting our night skies. To preserve our shared environment and support our nighttime operations, we request a requirement for proffered dark sky friendly lighting throughout the development. This means that all lighting must be fully shielded and downward facing. With these two requests, the transparency in real estate and responsible lighting will build a stronger, more informed community for everyone. I thank you for your consideration and the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Mr. Jason Mans. Welcome, Mr. Mans.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I'm here in kind of three capacities. One,
Could you state your address?
17350 Lakewood Road.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm here kind of in three capacities. One, since I said I live on Lakewood Road, I'm a neighbor. And then I'm also a business owner in town and the chair of the EDA. And all three of us unanimously agree that this should probably pass because we need some more people in town. That's all I got.
Thank you. The next person on my list is Mr. Mike Bagat.
I'm Mike Bagat at 18080 AP Hill Boulevard. I am also for this development, which is we are long waited. My concern would be special district tax, how much this new development will take burden off us all existing. I did not hear on proposal that they will be contributing towards this special district tax, while this special district tax was created for water sewer, and this new development is using water and sewer. Also, second concern is this commercial development involved in this. I want town council to make sure that develops along with housing development. Either they develop commercial first or as a portion of commercial and housing. That way we don't left out commercial at last. So that's my concern, and I thank you for an opportunity to speak, and I also congratulate Mr. Webbs for this, bringing this development to town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bagat. The next person on my list is Ms. Jessica Beal.
My name is Jessica Beal. I'm at 127 Sunset Drive. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Town Manager. I, much like Jason, am here in a few different capacities. I am also a member of the EDA. I am the president for the BGVA Main Street Group. I'm also a town resident and a business owner. And I think, just to put it simply, if we want to see Bowling Green grow in a way that is intentional and maintains the small town charm that we have, I think projects like this are really important. And so I would urge council to see this through and approve it to get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Beal. The next person on my list, and he's at his right public hearing this time, Mr. Ken Swain.
Glad I got it right this time. So I'm Ken Swain. I'm one of the property owners of Maricosset Creek right across from the development. And through the earlier presentation, you go into the detail of how thick the vinyl's going to be, all types of designs for sewer and water, but nothing about stormwater. And if you look at the photo up there, the proposed area is surrounded by wetlands and open water, and those are National Fish and Wildlife designated wetlands. I would urge that information be released for the public to look at, and I'm sure that it's been looked at in full design, but as the owner of the wetland right next door, all of that stormwater would be conveyed. That's the only way it could be conveyed, is to those to one of those three wetlands. And that's my concern. And looking at the detail of the development so far, I'm sure that's being taken care of. I also noted that in the material that was available for public review, the design sheets had specific notations that there was no consideration of wetlands, contamination, and some others. So I'm wondering if that's going to be released as well. And I know you can't answer that yet, but and kind of just to know when the next release of information like that would be. And it sounds like there's some pretty detailed reports already. Will those be made public? So those are my concerns of the quality of the wetlands at risk.
Thank you so much for your, and you are also my neighbor. I live on Lakewood. Your property's right behind mine.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. Are there any other citizens or people outside of the town who desire to speak on this at this time? At this time, I will close the public comment for the public hearing. Madam Town Manager, do you have anything to add? I'm going to turn it over to them. I just want to make sure staff was done. At this time, I will turn this over to Ms. Lauren Ditlake Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Brooks. I'm a professional engineer, and I work for Webb & Associates. Tonight, I'm going to be representing Fairmont Land in a rezoning request, as you know. First, I wanted to say thank you, though, to the town staff. We started in 2024 with a strictly residential layout, and staff encouraged us to move towards a PUD zoning with a commercial component in order to be more in compliance with the comprehensive plan. And so we've gone through numerous iterations to get to the layout that you'll see today. So again, I just want to say thank you for that. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is our mixed-use project. It combines commercial and retail spaces with residential units. It offers a variety of housing types to include apartments, townhouses, and single-family dwellings. In order to do this, we are requesting a rezoning from B2 business to plan unit development. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, so this is the first corner of the project. When you come into the entrance, we have this commercial retail space. We envision it to look very similar to Spotsylvania Courthouse. We're going to have that commercial on the first floor with apartments on the second and third floors. Another cool thing that we wanted to incorporate, we have a courtyard area between the two buildings that's going to have outdoor seating. It's going to create a cool environment for people to grab their food and hang out and eat together as a family or with friends. If we move further down the project, we're proposing 3 apartment buildings. And again, these are going to be similar to Spotsylvania Courthouse. I wanted to show a couple things on this slide too. We are proposing some additional landscape screening that's going to go between the apartments and the townhouses to create a smooth transition between the two. Also on this slide is an emergency access that's going to be gated and available for fire and rescue. So this slide here, once again, it's about to be in the courthouse, just to kind of paint a picture for you of what it looks like to have that commercial retail space together with the apartments, how they're integrated together, and how everyone will be able to go between both of those uses very easily. Moving on back to the project, we have our townhouses. As you can see here, we wanted to front them on a public road. To do this, we are doing rear-loaded units. We felt like this was a more higher quality product to not see the garages on the fronts of the houses. We're going to provide parallel parking in the front in addition to the 2 parking spaces in the back. So these are some examples of what we think the townhouses could look like. As you can see, this is just like I just said, the parallel parking in the front with the rear-loaded units, the driveways in the back. So moving on to our single-family detached, we have 43 units here, and the lots are about 50 feet wide by 100 feet long. Fairmont Drive, which is the road that goes along the back, kind of the main drag, and then Emery Lane, which is kind of parallel to the page there. Those are both going to project to the adjoining properties. That's going to allow for future connectivity. A few things that we have done to create that higher end product that we're looking for, we have made the utility strip, which is the grass area between the curb and the sidewalk. It's going to be 5 feet wide instead of 2 feet wide, and that allows for street trees and street lighting. Also, we have, I know Ms. Odom mentioned before, but we have a ton of architectural standards that ensure variability, but still cohesive throughout the project. In addition to that, we're proposing some foundation plantings on those homes. So I just wanted to recap back to the layout to show how we have our dense uses in the front towards 301, and then as you move back, we have the townhouses, and then we have the single family in the open space, kind of creating a natural transition from 301 back to our adjoining properties. It also kind of shows you how we have all of the different types of housing that will appeal to different buyers at different income levels. Since this project is located at the entrance of town, we saw it as an opportunity to make a good, strong first impression that for anyone that's passing through, and that's why we have these architectural standards, to be able to have a beautiful building as soon as you come into town. So we talked about our open space. The biggest open space component that we have here is the Bowling Green Community Park. This park is going to include a playground, a pavilion with a restroom, open playfield area, and a parking lot. And then based on Planning Commission suggestions, we also added a bike rack and a grill. And then we added an additional crosswalk along Emery Lane there to provide a safe path to get to the park from the main road there. And again, this is about a $692,000 asset that will be dedicated to the town that we are going to build on our own. Another way we are enhancing our open space is by providing a 5-foot wide mulched walking trail. And it's going to meander through the trees. We're not going to create any disturbance by that. But we thought this was a great way to make that open space more usable for the residents. So this slide here shows how we are creating a safe pedestrian environment. We are going to build that 10-foot wide shared use path that starts at Lakewood Drive, kind of on the left-hand side of the screen, and goes down East Broadus Avenue to our project and through our project, so that if there's any development in the future, they can connect directly to it. We also show sidewalks in red, and I think we mentioned earlier that Planning Commission noted that there's actually no sidewalk between Lakewood Drive and that first commercial building. And so we're going to provide that additional sidewalk there in addition to a crosswalk so that we have a fully connected path from our project into town. So just a little recap on the amenities that we're proffering. The park, the walking trail, and the shared use path all ends up being a little over $1 million. I'm not going to go into the details of this economic impact because Ms. Odom already has, but my main takeaway from the Virginia Tech fiscal analysis was that They estimate that $5.1 to $8.6 million will be created by the new residents and their visitors. And of that, they think that 43 to 73% will be spent in the town, which is a total of 2.1 to 4.57 million. So we worked with several different departments in the county. Fire and Rescue offered their feedback. They had some great suggestions to make the alleys a little bit wider and make the drive aisles a little wider to be able to accommodate some of their fire truck apparatuses. And they had no opposition to this project. Additionally, the school system, they had great feedback. They think that it would be a great way to bring in teachers and to retain them. More than half of their employees live outside of the county, so this is a great way to house those people. We just have overall had great feedback, and we feel like that this would be a great project for our town. So thank you so much for your time. I would be happy to answer any additional questions, but just to kind of circle back on the questions from earlier, I love the AP Hill feedback. I think it's a great idea to disclose at closings or disclose to the new residents that there's going to be loud noises, there's going to be smoke, whatever else that's affiliated with AP Hill. And additionally, with the lighting, we already have those type of lights spec'd on our plan. So that's incorporated already. And then we talked about the special tax district. I believe that it will help distribute the costs throughout the special tax district for the 301 district, but I might have to defer that to the town. And the stormwater management, that will be determined more at the site plan phase, but it will be fully compliant with all state requirements, water quality, water quantity. That's all part of the review that we will have to go through at the site plan phase. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
At the public hearing, we will not be asking questions. That's for action for later. The only comment I have to make is it's Lakewood Road, not Lakewood Drive.
Thank you, Lakewood Road. I'll make a mental note.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking with us, Ms. Brooks. At this time, we will close our public hearing. Okay, now that we have 4 public hearings out of the way, I'm going to open the floor up for public comment. If you have something to say, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Address your comment to me and not to council. Anyone desiring to speak may come up. Ms. Giles, you coming up? Okay.
Is it time for me to come back up, or do I?
You may re-enter the council. Yes, Mr. Webb. We'll kick you out of here when we have consideration. At this time, I will close public comment. There are member comments. Mr. Hageman?
I have none.
Mr. Stork? Ms. Goyle?
No, thank you.
Dr. Chenault? Mr. Webb? Mr. Voigt?
No.
Ms. Davis? Thank you. Moving on, we will have the staff report presentations, the audit presentation. Ms. Audrey Davis from Davis and Associates. Is she here, Miss India? Oh.
Are we doing wrong? I'm about to try. Just got that note. We can go to the plans.
We will move on. We'll come back to item number 10. We'll move on at this time to item number 11, the utilities report from IES. Hello, Mr. Sylvaas.
Hello, good evening. This will be the utility report for January, and it was a good month for January, water and wastewater treatment. Wastewater discharge an average of 84,000 gallons a day, or 0.084 million gallons a day. for a total monthly effluent discharge of 2.6 million gallons. Water average daily water production rate was 0.13 million gallons, or 130,000 gallons a day. A total monthly production of 4 million gallons throughout the month. Wastewater, sand drying bed was modified for the sludge bag to be put into use for the sludge dewatering. That project's still ongoing. The contractors are actually going to be heading this way soon. Quote was received for the new hardware from Hayward for the rotors on the oxidation ditch. Continuing to maintain compliance with monitoring and reporting. Water, continuing to treat water per state requirements. All state required samples were collected and reported. And then there's a couple extra slides in here based on the fats, oils, and grease that we were talking about earlier. The anticipated management of the fog ordinance. Identify potential fog generators and develop comprehensive list of users on the sewer system that will require pretreatment. Coordinate and schedule on-site visits with each customer to evaluate their potential to generate fog and gather information concerning their pretreatment equipment. Modify list of fog generators as needed based on initial visit. Plan on annual on-site inspections at each customer on the generators list. Base reinspection and enforcement actions on annual inspection report. And IES manages fog programs for other municipalities and is available to manage Bowling Green's program as well. For the Fairmont Development water demand statistics, the Fairmont General Development Plan indicated an anticipated max daily flow for water and sewer to be approximately 45,639 gallons. The current average daily water and wastewater production is 130,000 gallons a day and 80,000 gallons a day respectively. DEQ's groundwater permit allows the town to withdraw up to 11.7 million gallons per month. Based on these values, it's anticipated the new development will increase the loading capacity of the water and sewer systems to 45% and 50% respectively. It is IES's opinion the town's current water and wastewater utility system has the required capacity to meet the new development's hydraulic demand. That is the presentation for January. Does anybody have any questions?
The drying beds, are they under roof or are they out in the open?
They are under a roof.
So the snow and the snowstorm we had, it didn't impact the beds at all?
That doesn't primarily land straight on there.
Okay, cool. I didn't know. That's why I asked. Are there any questions from council at this time? Thank you, Mr. Silius.
You're welcome.
Do we have Ms. Davis ready yet? If not, we'll move on to item number 12, the financial director. Ms. Tolliver?
You can weigh it, Attorney. Today's other report that you had is in close for your consideration. We do have Sean and the chief here.
I looked at my financial report in my packet, so I'm hoping that council has also done the same, so we can move on. Let's move on to item 13, Public Works. Mr. Fortune, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah.
Everybody looking lovely today.
You're in a good mood.
Yeah, because I'm tired. I'm actually going to say I'm tired. Just one day I'm saying I'm tired. Yep, but any questions?
I would like to thank you for fixing the water break on my road last night. You guys were awesome.
Oh, thank you for coming out, keeping company. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Chief Cecil for the Bowling Green Police Department report. Are there any questions for Chief Cecil at this time?
Good afternoon. Everybody good?
None? Chief Cecil, I'm glad to see you standing here.
Me too.
You've had surgery, and I want to make sure that you are doing well, not overtaxing yourself, so.
Doing good.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm glad to see you're taking care of yourself. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
So we can go back to item number 10? Let me know. If not, we'll move on to town manager's report.
Can you hear us out there, Ms. Davis?
No.
She's muted. No, just unmuted. I heard you mumble. Mute your mic. Not hearing. Could we just call her?
Okay, I'm just gonna give Okay. Just say, go ahead and advance the slide when you need to.
Thanks.
Okay, did you want me to get started?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Audrey Davis with Davis and Associates. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present the results of your FY 2024 audit. Now that I'm on the phone, I don't know if you're sharing a screen on Teams or not, so, okay. I'll just go from my slides. So the first thing is that the objective of this discussion is to provide those charged with governance a summary of the results of the town of Bowling Green, Virginia's FY 2024 audit, present the audit findings, and discuss any relevant issues. The overall audit scope. So the scope of the engagement is pretty straightforward. It was to perform an audit to determine whether the town's financial statements and related footnotes taken as a whole are fairly presented in all material respects and in conformity with GAAP. And additionally, to review the town's system of internal controls and compliance with laws and regulations. I don't know if you have the slides in front of you, but now I'm going to the slide that says audit findings. So the first thing I want to cover is that the financial statements are the responsibility of the town's management. Our responsibility as auditors is to conduct an audit, to express an opinion on those financial statements. Based upon the audit, we determined, in our opinion, the financial statements and related footnotes taken as a whole are presented fairly in all material respects and in conformity with GAAP. Going to the next slide, I want to talk about internal control and compliance with laws and regulations. So in our audit, we did detect one material weakness in internal controls over financial reporting. And I'll read it to you. The town continues to operate without written financial policies or a formal accounting procedures manual. While the town has maintained adequate segregation of duties and engages an external consultant to assist with month-end reporting and closing, the specific steps, review levels, and authorization protocols for these processes have not been documented. And this condition was also previously reported in your FY 2023 audit engagement. And for that reason, because it wasn't remedied in this fiscal year, we had to show this as a material weakness in internal controls. However, there were no issues noted over compliance with laws and regulations. And I wanted to get to just a few numbers. So the assets for the governmental activities exceeded liabilities at June 30, 2024 by 1.8 million. 1.4 million is unrestricted. 10,000 is shown as restricted donations, and 309,000 is invested in capital assets. So the net position under business type activities was 3.7 million. Of that, 3.1 million was reported as invested in capital assets, and the remaining 631,000 is unrestricted. As far as revenues, the revenues from governmental activities totaled 2,274,102. General property taxes. So we've looked at what's the makeup of your revenues. Approximately $249,139 came from local tax, from general property taxes. Other local taxes totaled $1,132,483. This is basically the largest component of your revenues at 60.76%. Categorical aid, and this was recognition of COVID-19 funds that were received in prior periods but just recognized or expended in that fiscal year, totaled $612,072. Charges for services, $107,027, and miscellaneous, $173,381. So those were the components of your revenue for the governmental activities. And the next slide is just a chart to show you, a pie chart showing you a graphical representation of that. Expenses for governmental activities totaled $1,774,697. The largest component is general governmental administration expenses, which totaled $1,151,628. Remaining components were public works, which totaled $418,204, public safety, $177,164, and community development, $27,702. And again, it's just a graphical representation of those expenses for the governmental activities. For the water and sewer fund, revenues totaled $1,086,715. Expenses totaled $1,573,976. And you can see the difference there as well, the graphical depiction there. Total outstanding debt for the primary was $6.8 million. So for recommendations, the town really should prioritize developing formal accounting manual. It's critical to have these accounting policies and procedures in place to ensure that you're following them and to actually test them. So once you develop your internal controls for the entity, you want to ensure that they're working properly. So you want to design them, document them, and then test them to ensure they're working effectively. You should really have the duties performed. If you're going to continue with the use of an external consultant, which makes sense, you want to just ensure that when you document it, you document things that are being performed by the town and things that are being performed by the external consultant. Since your manual may be subject to change, you can always change how you do that. But you want to be very clear on the roles and responsibilities, because one of the key things you want to ensure that you have the proper segregation of duties in place and just really the proper controls over reporting, accruals, doing analysis for your financial closes and things like that. Again, thank you so much for allowing us to conduct and support this very important audit engagement. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them as best I can.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Are there any questions from council at this time? Ms. Davis, repeat, please, the three things that you said: design, document, and what?
So for the test, we call it in the audit world, we call it the Todd and Toe test. So the first thing is tests of design. You want to design them and you want to test to ensure that your design of the controls is sound. And then you have your toe test, which is test of operating effectiveness, because you want to ensure that the controls you put in place are operating effectively for the period. So that's what the function is, basically: design, document, and test.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to offer and thank Ms. Davis for her quick work on this FY24 audit. This concludes 4 audits done in about 2 years. In addition to working with a new system, I'd like to thank Ms. Tamika Morgan, who's assisted us with the pre-audit services for the town over that time that has helped, as well as finance staff, previous finance director, interim finance director, and our current finance director, as well as myself, for that work to bring us up to speed. I'd also like to clarify, as it relates to this one finding, we had several more findings in our previous audit, so we've been working diligently to get those reduced for a number of reasons. But as it relates to the documentation, council did pass their first financial policies that we drafted along with the help of our financial advisors, Davenport. And as it relates to segregation of duties, some of the reasons that we have additional part-time staffing is so that we can ensure we meet those requirements for the segregation of duties in the finance office to ensure those future findings will not be there. In addition, we have started the process for financial policies, some of the accounting principles that she mentioned in there, but this is in a different fiscal year. This fiscal year that is in question is from the 23-24 period, for which I was the town manager for half of that. And all of the other staff that are currently here were not a part of that actual operation process as it stands. So just want to make sure we're clear on that for the record. But thank council for their support as we work to get caught up, and we are essentially just a little bit behind on 25 at this point. So I'd like to thank everyone for all of their work and support and patience as we work to get caught up over the past years of lack of management and the challenges with half partially implemented systems. So just thank everyone for their support.
Thank you. And I want to thank Ms. Davis, their company. We switched companies, and they have been phenomenal and expedient. So let's move on to the town manager's report. Item number 15 on your agenda. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved my pen and lost my spot. But I'll be brief on my report. It is enclosed. Some of the highlights include we've met with Stantec, our hydrogeological engineers, to continue the work on our water quality improvement project. So we have met with VDH today to talk about our funding award timelines on that, as well as the PER that is required in May. We've done work on site to look at some potential well sites, and so that project is moving and progressing. Also, just to note, we have moved forward with our pump and haul services with Drainfield Solutions, so that will save the town a little bit of money after we put that procurement out. Done some legislative office coordination, work with our finance department to have bills go out for this billing cycle. The mayor, vice mayor, and I also attended VML Legislative Day earlier in February to advocate on behalf of the town and express the town's legislative interests. And just to note that the Caroline Reed's Literacy Initiative that was coordinated with a number of our businesses downtown was postponed due to the snowstorm, and that has been rescheduled for March 14th. So we'd like to encourage all of our kids, young adults, adults as well, to come out for that Caroline Reed's Literacy Initiative on the rescheduled date of March 14th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Are there any questions for the town manager at this time? Moving on, we're going to move on to new business. Item number 16, fats, oils, and grease ordinance. And this time, Mark Bowden, is he here?
Mark is not here with us tonight, but Jamie is here, and he has already spoken to that item. So you have that ordinance for you for consideration.
Were there any questions for him at this time?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we establish a wastewater regulations related to fats, oil, and grease ordinance.
And I'll second that. I have a motion from Mr. Stork, a second from Mr. Hageman. Is there any further discussion from council? At this time, I'd like to ask the deputy clerk to take a roll call, please.
Absolutely. Councilmember Hageman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stork?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Schultz?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 17, the Route 301 Special District Tax Ordinance Amendment. Mr. Gore can speak on this. Again, if you have any questions, you can direct them to him.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think I may have jumped the gun, but I think I've explained it, but I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Are there any questions from council this time?
I got one.
Certainly.
Yeah, within the ordinance, speaking to one of the concerns from earlier, how to say this? One issue we have is as a council, we can't hold future councils to anything. Can I ask again without digging this whole thing up, what does it actually say in there to the point of equalizing it and things like that? Like, the part where it's supposed to generate the 26%, per year, but, the truth of the matter is the council can set whatever rate. So, like, what does the actual ordinance say?
So the ordinance calls for for the assessment to generate enough revenue to cover 26% of the debt for the projects that have been spent for water and sewer in the district. So that dollar amount will vary based on, as your financial advisors, Davenport, have explained before, year to year, based on the property assessment. So it's not going to be a constant cents per 100, right? So it's not going to be. It was $1.70, I think, in 2011. Most recently, it's been 85 cents. It could go down. It could go up. The zoning project that's been before you tonight is in the district. So again, if parcels are developed and values go up, that the burden goes down on everyone. So it's not a set number for each person every year, each property, and it's not a set assessment rate. So it's something that council will look at with input from staff and financial advisors, and each year set that rate, right, to get to the 26% of the existing debt. To your question of, are future councils bound? No, they're not. So that's what this ordinance provides for council to do, as authorized under state law. However, it's not tied to the debt under the debt instruments, right? So theoretically, council could do away with this, could change it. It's just not subject to the specific debt that was issued. So it was created as a mechanism to help offset the burden on the general tax base. And so that's how it's been used as a practical matter. It is subject to potential change down the road. The part about the amortization to 2041. Again, that's not in the ordinance. That's a policy by this council, which affects what the annual assessment will be. Does that address your question?
It did very well. I was just looking to get a good articulated version of what you said. Thank you.
Mr. Stork.
So I think the main thing this is addressing too is correcting back a few years back. You know, we can't control future councils, and I wish we could control previous councils, to be honest with you, because at some point in 2018, 2020, institutional knowledge or transition of staff or council, we totally forgot what this thing was. And we totally forgot that it was financing a debt, a total amount. 74% was being paid by the taxpayer, 26 with the guys out there that own the land. So the mechanism to come up with the amount is not just to come up with 26%, it's to come up with the 100%, and then we know what to bill the guys out on 301. Now, what happened was 2018 to 2020, we somehow forgot what it was and the term of it and how much it was. And we refinanced a couple loans, which is nothing wrong with refinancing if you can get a better deal. But we got to write down somewhere how much that was and then not project it out further, you know, on the 301 district guys. And that's kind of what happened. Plus, somewhere back there in 18 and 20. And to be honest with you, one of the reasons I ran for council again was because I heard that we weren't even billing some people out there, right? So we weren't billing some people. That's what I heard. You know, I don't think anybody knows the honest truth of that. And we were raising the amounts out there. So the way I understand it, this addresses this. It may not address last year's tax bill or 26, but in 27, I think it gets it straight. But we can't do this again. We can't forget again. And council changes and we forget the original concept. So I'm in favor of this, but we got to remember the past. So we're going to keep on doing it again.
Is there any more discussion? Mr. Stork, you're in favor of it. Was that a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we amend the 2011 ordinances which established the Route 301 North Corridor Service District.
I have a motion from Councilman Stork. Is there a second? From Councilman Hageman. Any further discussion? All in favor? Never mind. Deputy Clerk, please take a roll call.
Councilmember Hageman. Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Vote passes unanimously, 7-0. Item number 18, council consideration of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $3,200,000. Mr. Chris Culp, this is a bond counsel, Hutton, and Ted Cole from Davenport. Hello, Ted.
Good evening. How are you all? I do have an update from the presentation we shared last week. I'll pass that around. While that's coming around, you might recall that there were a couple of open items that we were going to go back to the banks on related to the terms of the loan. As you get this packet, the banks that we're proposing the same. There's no difference. The interest rates that they've proposed, there's no difference. We talked through where the $3.2 million of the loan would be going, its purpose. Everything is very consistent, but if you do get to page 5, and that's page numbers in the bottom right corner, you all might recall we did discuss Is there an opportunity where maybe the banks would allow us to do 1 or 2 years of interest only, meaning delay the principal for 1 or 2 years? We worked with both Atlantic Union and Huntington Bank. Those were the two that had the most attractive proposals for either the 15 or the 20-year term. Ultimately heard back from Atlantic Union. Their preference was to just leave their proposal as originally submitted. If you're on page 5, that is under column B. That's the Atlantic Union 15-year proposal. Their rate is that 389. That's the same rate we presented last week for a fully amortizing 15-year loan. And you'll see that that proposal, those annual payments are about $285,000 a year. And over the 15-year term, down at the bottom, the total payback is principal plus interest is $4.28 million. You can see under columns C, D, and E, Huntington Bank also provided 15-year rates, not as attractive, right? Atlantic Union was a 389, Huntington is a 427. The only reason we've circled back to the Huntington here is they did agree that if we wanted to do 1 or 2 years of interest only, they would be willing to do that. You can see that in columns D and E. And we've highlighted the yellow because that's an interest-only payment for either 1 or 2 years. So it's a higher rate to start with, so it is more interest expense than Atlantic Union, but they did agree to doing that interest-only period if that is attractive from a cash flow perspective. And then on the far right, Huntington was the only bank that provided the 20-year proposal. And you'll notice their rate is a 4.48% there under column F as in Frank. They also, under the 20-year proposal, said they'd be willing to accommodate 1 or 2 years of interest only, which is what we're showing under columns G and H. So this is the full accompaniment of 15 and 20-year rates that we had agreed to focus on. Really no change to the Atlantic Union, a little more flexibility that Huntington was willing to provide if that's important or helpful. I think our general conversation was, that we wanted to move forward with Atlantic Union. I think there was some expression of the 15-year term was a preference maybe from some of council. There is a resolution this evening for y'all's consideration. It does include within the resolution Atlantic Union Bank. We purposely asked that the resolution be submitted with a blank for the interest rate, just in case that was going to change. With Atlantic Union, it did not. And there was a blank in there for the final maturity, just in case that was going to change, and it didn't. So if there's a desire to continue to move forward with the Atlantic Union 15-year, the resolution accommodates that with a couple of blanks that would need to be filled in for the interest rate and the final maturity. If any of these other options are of interest to you all, that's fine as well. We just need to make a few other adjustments to the resolution because it currently anticipates Atlantic Union. Tonight, y'all's consideration of the resolution, that would be your final action. If you were to take action, there's not an additional action needed. And if it were to be approved, we would move forward and put all of the documentation in place. We would more than likely target a closing on this loan in late March or very early April, which gives us about a week's time before that co-bank loan has to be paid off. And remember, that's a significant part of this loan. So all of that should be able to happen. We have no concerns about getting to a closing with either lender. And I'll stop there, and if there are any questions.
Are there any questions from council? I mean, we discussed this pretty thoroughly last week, Mr. Stork.
So either India or what was the strong reasoning behind the need for a couple of years of interest only? I mean, other than it gave us a little wiggle room there in the first 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was a consideration as it relates to potential cash flow, as well as while we were still working through some of these other grants and or loans or grants awards that we have pending, that it could have potentially given us a little bit more clarity on that time, and potentially maybe given some other time for additional users to enter our system. So that was just a consideration.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Culp, do you have something to add to this discussion?
Sure, Madam Mayor. Again, it's Chris Colt from Hunton Andrews, Kurth, and Richmond. I was just going to give a brief overview of the two action items, if I might.
Certainly.
So we're asking you to consider two things. One is an ordinance, just a short form authorization of the debt, and describes the purposes of the refunding of that CoBank loan, a reimbursement to the town of the costs that were incurred related to water and sewer, and then some new money for water and sewer. That ordinance will get filed with the Circuit Court as required under the Public Finance Act. The second action item is the bond resolution, as Ted was mentioning. That provides more of the detail about the specific option you want to choose with which bank, has the specifics about the terms within those parameters, authorizes the form of the bond, has tax certificates or tax certifications in it. This is intended to be issued as a tax-exempt obligation, and so we have certain covenants in there related to that. I don't have any concern, given the type of project that is being financed or being refinanced, that the town can't abide by those covenants, and then delegates to town officers and the mayor to finalize the deal, given the parameters and the authorization and the resolution to get this to closing. Happy to, that's an overview, but happy to answer more specific questions if you have any.
Any questions for Mr. Culp?
But yeah, and just a quick reminder, before you do consider the resolution, if it's your desire, we do need to make sure we're okay with the name of the bank and then filling in the interest rate and the maturity option that you choose.
Thank you.
While they're talking, India, so how big a deal is it at the interest only the first 2 years?
Well,
Worth $750 of it.
I'll let Ted talk to that a little bit, but I think it really is a desire of council. I know we talked a little bit last week as it relates to the 15-year versus the 20. I think that's as equal as much of a consideration. Obviously, we know that having a relationship, our banking relationship with Atlantic Union Bank is critical and important, as they are our primary bank. As it relates to the interest-only payments over a couple years, I think that there's obviously a consideration as it relates to the cash flow and potentially the changes or the rate that may be needed to support it in those 2 years. But that's really a broader conversation.
I'm disappointed that the Atlantic Union didn't come back with the interest only. Obviously, they are my pick. If I had to pick a bank just because of the history and or the relationship, and they're our banker. Can we, without any other development or any other disasters, can we swing it the interest and principal from day one?
I would say yes, you can make that work. It's what is it, 280, 130? So it's about $150,000 reduced payment for the interest only in year one or year 1 and 2, and not to minimize that, but it's I don't think it's going to tip the scale between solvency and insolvency for the system or the town. And to India's point, to the manager's point, I mean, working to get the water and sewer system truly on a self-supporting basis, right, without general fund support, probably some additional pressures on rates and charges. The interest only would buy you a year or two of a little additional relief, but again, I don't think that's in my opinion, based on what we know about the utility, is, it's not going to make the difference of, at a critical level for the solvency of the fund. I will say the 389 rate, we do a lot of these RFPs and deal with a lot of these loans, is a very attractive rate for 15 years. So I certainly want to emphasize the rate is attractive, and that may have played into the desire not to enter into the interest-only period. I mean, it still would mature in 15 years, but with 1 or 2 years of interest only, obviously the principal payback is a little bit longer, and that may have figured into their decision-making with that rate. So I'm not sure that gives you all the guidance you'd like to have, but I think the Atlantic Union's a very solid proposal. Would a year or two of a slightly lower payment be helpful? Generally speaking, it takes the pressure off the cash flow a little bit, but at some point you gotta step up and have that full principal and interest payment. And the interest only it's not free, right? I mean, it comes with an additional cost of interest in the subsequent years. The payment is higher in those subsequent years than it would be otherwise.
Mr. Voigt?
Yeah, that was the point I was going to bring up. I mean, just right on the spreadsheet here, it would cost us $225,000 to save $150,000 on the front end.
Yeah.
So.
Any other questions from this council this time? Thank you, Mr. Cole. Thank you, Mr. Culp. So, I guess we have 2 motions to be made here. So we'll look at the first one.
It's page 117, the first motion has been paid.
Yes, yes, that is correct.
All right, so in this first motion, do I say the name of the lending institution and the rate?
You can advise that we go with option whatever based on Davenport, and yes, then name the institution and let Mr. Gore jump in here because.
Well, I defer to Mr. Culp and Mr. Cole about how to frame the motion. I don't know. Did you have a pre-prepared motion in your packet? So I think,
if the motion were to be for Atlantic Union, for example, I think maybe you would want to reference the rate of a 3.89% and a final maturity of 2041.
Correct. Yes. And the ordinance as presented doesn't need to change. That's the first action item. And the second one, the bond resolution, making a motion with those notations, I think would be sufficient.
Got that. So one is just a motion to approve the ordinance as presented. And the second one would be a motion to approve the resolution with Atlantic Bank at 15-year, 3.89% as presented.
Okay, I make that first motion. As
What he said, right?
The ordinance.
I'll second it. The ordinance.
So I have a motion from Councilman Stork, a second from Councilman Hageman. Is there any further discussion? I ask the deputy clerk, please, to take a roll call.
Councilmember Hageman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stork?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, I'll stumble through this next motion here. All right. I say we go with Plan B, Atlantic Union Bank for a 15-year loan at 3.89%, and the maturity date would be 2041.
I have a motion on the table
Right, to approve the resolution with
Resolution, yeah,
with those terms.
with those terms.
And do I have a second? I have a second from Vice Mayor Coyle. We're getting punch drunk at this point. Yes, we did. So is there any further discussion on this matter? Deputy Clerk, please take a roll call.
Councilmember Hageman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stork,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Chanel,
Yes.
Councilmember Webb,
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt,
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Our next, we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we move on to this next item and give Mr. Webb a chance to pick yourself up from. You've already done that. You just need to go to the peanut gallery. the rezoning case of 2026-001 Fairmont. At this time, Ms. Darla Odom, would you come forward so that if this council has any questions, we can have the developer come up after Ms. Odom. She spoke first at the public hearing. Are there any questions for Ms. Odom at this time as a staff recommendation? Well, that was pretty easy. Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Stork?
Yes, sir.
So, I apologize if it's in here. Is there a HOA associated with Fairmont?
There will be one required as we go through the subdivision planning process. Whenever there's open space that's being a result or residual of the lots, then they will have to create a property owner or homeowners association. We've had some initial discussions with the applicant about that, because, there will be some management of the mixed use and apartment buildings, and then there'll be the ownership of the other lots. So that'll be something that gets worked out, and the documents will be reviewed by the town attorney prior to approval of any of the plats.
And then that connectivity of that mulch walkway, who maintains that in perpetuity?
The mulch walkway would be maintained by the property owners association, as proposed by the applicant.
Ms. Odom, is the HOA going to own the park, or is that being turned over to the town? I've heard.
The intent is to dedicate that park area to the town.
So that would become the town, taking care of at the town expense, not the HOA?
Yes, ma'am.
But then we would be able to use it to our benefit at any time without going through an HOA? Correct.
That is my understanding, and the applicant, I'm sure, can speak to that a little bit further as far as their intent. But there would be, once it's dedicated to the town, it's the town's property at that point. The shared use path, the 10-foot shared use path, would be maintained by VDOT. The paved shared path is the intent of the applicant, because it's in VDOT right away.
Mr. Hageman.
I just had one constituent ask a question. That 10-foot walkway, because Bowling Green is a golf cart community, can golf carts go on that? They wanted to know.
There would be no restrictions on golf carts going on it, at least, unless there are other restrictions in town. I think someone mentioned at the planning commission, I think it was Madam Mayor, that there are some restrictions currently in place for crossing East Broadus. Yes. Now, I think that's with an agreement through the state with VDOT, or the town has a law in place now because of those discussions. I've seen in localities that have golf cart communities where considerations are given whether or not that's something that you still want to keep in place as far as that restriction, but all of that's a safety consideration. I will say to you that in working in some other localities, if people decide they want to cross the road, people may do that. But that would be an enforcement issue.
Well, if I remember correctly, when we did the golf cart ordinance a long time ago, you could cross a street that had a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit, which meant you could, whatever the street is across from Lakewood,
Travis Street,
you could cross over to Lakewood Road, but you couldn't go very far because the town limits ended at the pond. But you couldn't, people wanted to be on Anderson and cross over West Broadus into Food Line, and that was higher than 35, so you couldn't do that. I assume the ordinance is still the same. You can cross over a 35, but you can't drive on a 35.
The town manager and I are going to be reaching out to Giovanni at VDOT. He will give us some further clarification. There's some sort of ordinance that even if the speed limit is above, if you have proper signage, you can cross at, an intersection, so say the traffic light. But we have to further investigate that. I don't know if the town manager has spoken to him yet. I have not gotten in contact with him as of yet. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First question to that point. No, I have not confirmed specifics on that with Mr. Esposito yet. That is something that we are looking into. There, I believe, is a section of the permit that speaks to the town of Colonial Beach and other towns with populations under 2,000, that where signage is allowed and requested by VDOT, that there are some considerations for exceptions. To Mr. Hageman's point about the width of the trail, I believe that there is also a VDOT regulation that speaks, I think, 17 feet needed to be for a clearance for if two golf carts were going to pass one another. And so the 10 feet would not meet that need for golf carts specifically. But again, as Ms. Odom said, there are people who will do what they want to do, and there are things that we will obviously regulate and have to patrol. And there are any town or any municipality where there will be things that you can't regulate and control. So just wanted to make sure that that is clear.
I just have one quick question for Mr. Odom. So apparently nobody contacted AP Hill after you went through that whole list of contacting everybody?
We had sent the letter out to them to let them know that the case was pending.
Okay.
And so that was their response that they gave us back this evening.
All right.
The dark skies are required by the ordinance.
Right.
As far as the regulations, whenever there's a proposal near a military installation, then we would suggest that the subdivision ordinances plats, have the note. I think the applicant indicated they were going to take that further to even have in the realtor disclosure to potential, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they have a large impact, so, and this was really important for them the last time around, so I just want to make sure when you get to site approval that it's really adhered to, so. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Odom at this time?
So just to confirm, every house that's built out there would then be a part of that 301 special tax district and would be apportioned a percentage of the 26%? Is that correct?
So what Jeff said earlier, any taxable parcel in that boundary would be subject to whatever rate it is at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Odom.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Brooks? Or Mr. Webb, whomever's.
Madam Mayor,
I'm sorry.
A whole bunch of stuff.
I apologize. Mr. Voigt, Ms. Odom, could you come back, please? I apologize.
Sorry, no.
Councilman Voigt.
Okay. Some of the stuff will be appropriate for you. Some of it will probably be for Lauren. And if you think one would be just better answered by them, then just say so. I'll move on. Real quick with the golf cart thing, I did pull up town code here, and yeah, it is. This could probably use some revision. But we do have a section in here that says a golf cart and/or utility vehicle may be operated only on the following designated public highways where the posted speed limit is 25 or less. So there is that in there, but I wanted to mention that because it struck me while we were talking about it. But moving on, okay, I will just go through these. All right, stuff I know is town administration related. Did we get a breakdown in there on the revenue from the capital infrastructure fees? I didn't see that separated. We got the sales.
I believe that's included in the water and sewer rates. What that number that was mentioned.
All together. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was not included in the connection fees. The connection fees, which you mentioned that earlier, is one.
Recurring separate from one.
Yes, the capital infrastructure fees would be included in that other number.
Okay, so that technically could be broken down further, basically.
I think it's all rolled up in one.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I don't see the one entry in there, but that accounts for both.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. That is for them. Okay, the typographical error in the water chart last time, that got corrected. That said, I just wanted to be certain, when everything was sent to our utility guys, were they working with the right math?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They were the ones that actually brought to our attention the typographical error in the chart when they had made their comments back relative to theirs. So yes.
All right, excellent. All right. Okay, in line with the revenues. Now, this is equally just for kind of discussion and thought on us as a council. But, with a development of this size, we're talking, let's just round it to 30% of the current size of the town potentially at full build out. So that's, pretty sizable, and that's going to have staffing demands. Some things will be able to be absorbed by the economy of scale as certain things get rolled up, but I could see us needing, potential chief is not still here, but we could potentially need like another part-time law enforcement. We'll probably need office hours in here, some assistance there. And most specifically, probably with Public Works is probably going to need some things. Now, I thought I had seen, or maybe we discussed about it at Planning Commission, but a sort of a dollar amount value associated with the maintenance of that park. But I couldn't find it and looking through here, so maybe it was just spoken.
I don't recall if there was ever a specific number given to the maintenance of the park per acre. But I would also just say that similar to Maury Heights, I'm not sure if there was analysis done there, but when that parcel that has to be maintained and mowed by the town, which is a grassy area and adjacent to a cemetery.
Oh, the meadows.
The meadows, sorry, in the meadows, that is maintained and mowed by our public works staff with the staffing that we have. So for any consideration.
You thinking that could just be absorbed as is?
I think that based on the acreage, that there could be a potential that maybe that's something that's either contracted out, given the revenue that would be coming from this. I think that's something that would be minimal in terms of absorbing those costs, or additional seasonal mowing needs.
Yeah, well, we're not only going to have mowing, we're going to have like the ice storm we just had, because we're going to have to maintain the parking lot, and we're also going to have to maintain the bathroom. So those are going to be ongoing throughout the year. Now, with that, that leads me in another question regarding the park. I would presume that it would have hours. Now, that may be more a question for them, but is it going to be gated? Is it going to be locked up? And then who do we send to shut it down for the evening?
I don't think that we considered anything other than the current park regulations that we have from dusk till dawn that we currently have in place for the park that we currently have. Also, I think as it relates to the comment about the maintenance in the bathrooms, I do just want to highlight that throughout the economic development work that has been done from the previous VDA report and then the transformation strategy, when we survey the public, some of the things that they've continued to say is there is no public bathroom. And we definitely don't have one at our current public park. And so that this public bathroom, public restroom would be an amenity in addition to the community, obviously, if there would be some maintenance, but we are not incurring the cost of paying for the initial development and build out of that. Same thing with the parks facilities.
No, agreed. Yes, no, bathroom has been a long desired thing. I probably won't take the walk all the way over there to use it myself, but
there'll be a trail.
There will be, and I will be walking it.
You would drive and park.
Segueing into the bathroom, though, I did want to mention the verbiage I should have pulled up on the proffer here. I just want to read out that aspect of the proffer. Where are we at? Okay, just so a public park identified on the GDP as Bowling Green Community Park, the exact times which will be approved by mutual agreement between the owner and town manager, and which includes a children's playground, bike rack, grill, a minimum of 24-foot by 28-foot pavilion with a concrete floor and bathroom, vehicular access and parking area. It doesn't exactly really define the bathroom, so I'd kind of prefer to have a little more understanding on what exactly "and a bathroom" really means. Does it mean one, unisex bathroom? Does it mean one of each? 2 stalls? Does it just mean porta-john on there? I could use more clarification on that.
Ms. Brooks would probably be better able to answer that, wouldn't she, Ms. Odom?
Well, yeah, the general development plan in our discussions have shown it being an actual constructed bathroom. But I'll
It's a square
defer
on
to
the map,
the
but-
applicant for their proposal on that.
Sure. Okay. And then another major one I have on, this does go back to the GDP map, I can just describe it. Again, with the park, it has one set of the housing backing against it. What is exactly the transition from the housing units into the park?
So they will have their own alleyway, and then there will be landscaping behind the alley.
Not the townhouses, the single families on the
The
other
single
side.
families, right, they do back up to it, and there's nothing now proposed as far as any sort of vegetation.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. And I think the other things are going to be more appropriate to ask them. I appreciate you, Ms. Odom.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Odom. Ms. Brooks, would you come forward, please? I know you and I had discussed the bathroom issue, and one of my questions as a mom and a foster mother in the past, I know when I had my 5 kids at the park, if one child had to go to the bathroom, I couldn't leave the other 4. I had to drag them all to a bathroom. And I know I had asked if it were possible to have, even if it's just one bathroom, a family bathroom, so that it would accommodate a handicapped person, extra children if you have to change a diaper, take one to the bathroom. So could you address that, please?
Yeah, I think that is our intent, at least to have one bathroom. Your question before was, what does the bathroom look like? We're planning on having 2, a male and a female. And probably the female one would be a little more accommodating to a family, a larger size. Of course, probably
Not 5, like me, yeah. Okay. Mr. Stork?
And would it be a part of the structure of would it be like on one end of the pavilion type thing?
That's currently how it's shown on the GDP, is that it would be within the pavilion. But I guess it probably could change in the design, but that's currently how we have it shown.
Mrs. Jacobs?
Yeah, I would also share, since this is something that would become town property, we have had discussions around the design of the bathroom and that it would be built like a park bathroom, sort of like Caroline County Park. You're talking, cement structures with industrial steel grade type of design. So it's not going to be beautiful, it is going to be functional. And so that it is a public park and a public facility. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
One of the things the town manager and I spoke about is if this project goes through and we become the proud owners of a new park, this gives us some flexibility. We could have potentially some of our music on the greens over there to promote those new businesses. And we're not using county property to do it. We'd be using our own property to do it. And we can, it gives us more diversity in the activities that the EDA and the BGVA are trying to implement and some of their ideas for the future. Go ahead, Ms. Coyle.
All right, I just have a couple of questions. So since we're on the park and the bathroom, dedicated donation of the park, is this done through a warranty deed? Yes? Yes. Yes. I just want to make sure, that we're covered since you're giving us that deed. So when the town comes to do the maintenance, and Mr. Voigt has covered over some of these, we will be maintaining the park, the playground, equipment, et cetera. Is that something you will be installing, or we will have to do that since we will now have ownership of the land?
It is our intent to install it all in the beginning.
Okay.
So it will all be complete package given to the town.
All right, so we will have ownership. Will the HOA have any assistance with any types of improvements, since more than likely those residents will be maintaining the park and facilities more than surrounding people using it more, yeah.
I don't know that we've considered that.
I don't know that I understand it.
So we, pardon me?
He didn't understand.
All right, so the town will now have a park area. We will be keeping up, mowing grass, shoveling snow, taking care of the bathroom, et cetera. Will the HOA provide any assistance, money-wise, to help the maintenance of that? Or will be strictly all the town?
Well, I'll just say one thing before they answer. You know, the little park that we were given in the Meadows, we maintain it 100%. I can see it from my back parking lot, and there's never been I've never seen any park activity out there at all. It's a little gazebo, but yeah, but it's the HOA doesn't contribute to that, and
This is a lot bigger, especially with the bathroom. I'm assuming the bathroom will have a concrete floor in the drain, so you can just spray hose, et cetera, and do all of the nice, easy things. I'm assuming it'll have tamper-proof lighting and all of those things as well. Another question we have, and Mr. Voigt and I have the similar one, will it be closed at 11 p.m. at night? Will it be open at 7 a.m. To secure for possible vandalism and or, I don't know, graffiti on the building? I guess those are all things that we need to consider, possible increase in police surveillance, I don't know. But, just a question. And I suspect it will be ADA compliant, the bathroom? There will be a way to get up onto the pavilion?
Yes.
Not like over here. The trail. So I'm all for trails, and everyone's brought up a part of the challenge being the golf carts. Golf carts and e-bikes, AKA pedicabs, are not allowed to drive on or cross over Broadus Avenue. Now, in here, it says it's a multi-use or shared use. I am assuming, assumption is the mother of all screw-ups, but I'm assuming that by multi-use or shared, you mean pedestrian, joggers, bicycles. You are not considering multimodal motorized vehicles.
Yeah, I think the intent was more for bicycles and pedestrians.
Okay, so that motorized vehicles, golf carts, are a no, specifically because the trail isn't even wide enough.
Wide enough.
Yeah, just the reason we used shared, whatever the
Shared
term,
use path.
shared use.
Right.
That's a VDOT specific term that meets a standard that they had.
Right.
I'd called it a multi-use trail, and then we went with shared use because, well, are you talking to VDOT? No, I mean, that's what their standard is. And so, our thought was that, like the e-bikes, I don't see an issue with those on a shared use.
It's a motorized vehicle, that's why I'm asking.
it's also kind of a.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting into.
A pedicab or e-bike is considered like a golf cart.
I don't know the answer. My guess would be you could use it on that, but I didn't really look into that level of detail. This is just the VDOT standard shared use path that they will allow, and we'll build it to that standard. So, I mean, we can look into what can be or can't be used for.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm asking. It is an issue. As Randy said, many people have asked about the golf carts, and are they going to be allowed? And the fact is, the trail isn't wide enough. And VDOT, if you ask them about multimodal, the first thing they'll say is motorized vehicles. I'm just asking, will motorized vehicles be allowed? At the way this reads right now, it will not. And I just want to make sure, once you get to your site plan approval, that it is not allowed here, but that 2 months down the road, all of a sudden, golf carts are allowed. I just want to make sure, because it's a safety issue. I know the last time we had someone claim it was parental rights, but this, to me, it's a safety issue, and I just want clarity on that, because we didn't have clarity last time.
That's certainly something that we can look into with VDOT on what's able to be used and what's not. So we'll make note of that.
All right. And they haven't provided any permits yet, it's just in the startup stage. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of general alignment and location and separation from the roadways, it was yes. We just haven't gotten to that detail yet.
Okay,
But
well,
generally speaking, yes, it is in a location that's approvable and should be, but, you know, the devil's in the details, making sure that we provide the details so they can approve it.
right. Well, you know, this is the zoning portion. This is the only time we have a chance to ask our questions. Because once you get to site approval, we don't get to do that. So I just want to make sure whatever I have to ask now is kind of in your hooper for when you get to that point. So.
A hooper, that's a northern term. We call hoppers in the Is that a Midwestern term?
So if I may, on the golf cart issue, I'm no expert on it, but I think state law requires a local ordinance to designate the public roadways where golf carts can be driven. And so I think this hypothetical about a HOA-controlled path is sort of not in the world of local approval of golf carts. All right, so this is private property, it's HOA walking trail. If the HOA wants to talk to VDOT about getting it to be a trail that allows golf carts, that's a whole different issue than the town's regulation of golf carts on public streets. So I think it's kind of a different issue. I mean,
that's what
I hear your concerns, but I think if you want if council feels strongly enough to want to ask for a condition that there will be no golf carts allowed on the pass, that's something you could talk with the applicant about. That was not in the proffered conditions prior to the hearing.
Right.
But that could be something for discussion. Either now or eventually if proffers were to be amended, which have to go through the public hearing process to amend proffered conditions. So I just think, and I think VDOT could weigh in on this at some point.
Exactly.
But I think it's not really within the town's regulation of golf cart role to regulate neighborhood trails.
Got it.
Right. I think it's a different path. No pun intended, sorry.
Cool. That's good. That's why I need to know. All right.
Ms. Odom, can you?
I was just going to say that VDOT will decide what's allowed on there.
On that trail.
When they
That's
review the plans.
That's fine.
Depending upon the design of the path. And right now, they're offering it as the 10-foot wide shared use path.
That's
Yeah.
That's good.
That's something that would be discussed at site plan.
Exactly. Okay. How are the build-out phases going to go?
I don't think that we have designed how we're going to, we don't have phase sections. We'll definitely start at the entrance. That's where all of our utilities, we have our water connection and our sanitary connection and our stormwater is all going to be right there at the entrance. So we're going to start there, and we'll probably go towards the back first and do our single families and our townhouses so that we can generate the income to be able to do the front parts.
The apartments.
Yes, the apartments in the commercial.
Commercial area. The private alleyways, is there a sign going to be there to tell people private do not enter? Or the reason I ask is when you want to go to the park, if someone misses Emery, that lane or street, if they miss that road, they have to go around the whole development or turn around and come back to get to Emery. Is there going to be, people will see those alleys and they'll say, ooh, shortcut. Is there something to prevent that, or?
At this time, we don't have any signage or anything shown.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the intent of the alley is that somebody can use that. When we say it's a private alley, it's just privately maintained. It's not going to be a VDOT maintained.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be a publicly used.
Okay.
Just like the parking lots that are, around the commercial. I mean, those are all private parking lots, but they're there for the community and the public
Of
to
the
use.
area.
but it's just going to be privately maintained.
Gotcha.
And so they are wide enough, we had to go through, like Lauren said earlier, for fire trucks. And so they're going to be built to a standard that will carry fire, the
Heavy load
70,000 pound load.
Gotcha.
And so they're going to be nice beefed up.
Okay. The modification for the extra 10 feet, is that for the apartments, the townhouses, and the houses? Extra 10 feet on each all buildings?
Yes, I think it applies across the whole development.
Yeah, it does. And the main reason for it, like with the townhouses, we had an issue in the city of Fredericksburg where we had a 35-foot building height in the zoning district, and the builder wanted to go in and do up on the kind of the roof level, wanted to do some like roof amenity, like a little porch area that would
Up
be
on the
really
parapet?
cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what we ended up doing, we couldn't do that. And then we ended up, instead of having a nice high roof pitch, we ended up with something that looked a little lower. And to me, we just wanted to make sure that while we were asking for things, that we would have the ability to do a few of those things, because we think those things are architecturally important and didn't want to be limited by that.
Tiny, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of thought maybe you'd be putting HVAC to keep everything.
But I think on the commercial, I think that
top
very well
instead of-
could be,
so-
having stuff up there and having the ability to screen it so that things look nice would be important.
Perfect. Commercial space, you have 14 apartments designated for the top of the commercial space?
Yes.
How big are those apartments? These are, you only
Well,
have
there's 2
8 buildings.
floors, so it'd be 7 on each floor.
Oh, I
Yeah, it's
gotcha.
2 stories.
Okay, I missed that, sorry. Okay. But still, how much square feet is in each retail spot?
We haven't designated out how big each retail space would be, just because it's going to depend on the user that goes in there. But we have the overall footprint of each one. The one that parallels 301 is
larger.
Yeah, that one's a little bit larger. That one's 9,600 square feet.
Okay. 14 apartments, okay. Still sound like,
1,900 square feet.
yeah, it still sounds like small apartments, but that's okay. All right. The meals tax, Ms. Odom, you had mentioned is $130,000 annually you were considering? Or might be a possibility of happening?
That would certainly be based on, and the assumption that was made in the study by Virginia Tech,
right.
based on if they were restaurants and they were applying the meals tax based on that assumption and a model.
Okay, since we didn't see the analysis, okay, that answers my questions. If all 8 of these buildings are providing food or restaurants.
I think they, let me see.
If they're not, then I don't know where you get.
The number would be different, yes.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the buildings able to be combined? Like you have 8 buildings, can you take 2 of them? What if an urgent care wants to come move in here? Would you do that for them?
Well, I thought that the meals tax really was based on the number of people that are going to be there.
Yeah.
The meals tax that it's going to generate for existing restaurants here, or maybe a
Okay.
restaurant there, but just, that's what the study, it didn't assume that all of our commercial would generate that. It's the people that are going to be moving in there, people visiting, that's what that study.
Okay, I don't know, I didn't see the
That's what I
study, so
understood.
that's, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But then when you're asking, could what? be
If you, are your 8 buildings, do you have any problem of combining them if you wanted to?
Oh, no, I think we need the flexibility. We're talking about the commercial. I think we need the flexibility we may have something small, or we may have to combine, and I think that we need the flexibility to be able to, fit those out to meet whatever the customer's need is.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it wasn't 8 building, 8 commercial fronts, and that's all you get. You have the flexibility to maneuver them around. Okay. You mentioned the water retention pond will be in the beginning, in the front entrance where it was the last time. It'll be fenced or just far enough away from?
I think that will probably be determined at the site plan phase. Yeah.
Okay. The entrance to the development, and this is obviously going to be a VDOT thing as well. So when you're coming south from 301 and you want to turn into the development, Is VDOT giving any deceleration lane? It is, because it doesn't look like there's one there.
The turn lane here at the front.
That little piece is deceleration lane?
Well,
big is
that is based off the VDOT standard. So we went through and we did all the calculations on, is a right turn required? Yes, it is. So we have to do a 200-foot long turn lane with a full taper.
A detailed plan on sheet 6 of 7 of the GDP spells that out very specifically.
It gives more specific details.
It shows the calculations and then how long. It's going to be a 200-foot taper and then a 200-foot turn lane. So a total of 400 feet before you get
For
there.
those.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And then when you come out and make a right, are they going to give you
There's what VDOT requires is a 48-foot taper.
Okay, they do, all right.
And we've shown that, but, when we go through the detailed design, if the rules change, things could vary a little bit.
All right. Do you think VDOT would consider, and I don't know, but traffic will be increasing within the next 5 to 10 years here, a stoplight at the entrance? No? Okay.
It would never meet the warrants.
That's what I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah, so many times for commercial development, all the commercial developers want stoplights. And I know they're very expensive, but you have to meet the warrant analysis. So you go through but I think they're trying to design 301 to really convey traffic and
Right.
I don't think it would ever meet a warrant analysis.
That's cool. In the commercial area, I'm assuming the handicap or van accessible, not just car?
Yes, when we do all of our planning, we go off the numbers of how many are required and how many van accessible spaces are required as well.
All right, and lastly, the emergency gate at the north end, how does that work? So if there's a fire or something, do they stop, plug in a number or a key to get through the gate? How is that going to work?
I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know it's called a Knox box. Do you know more about it?
So they don't have to stop, get out the truck, go and put a code in or something. They'll have that communication with this box, and that's why the fire department actually requested that the language specifically say not.
Exactly. I didn't know what Knox meant. Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Brooks, at the ingress egress, at Planning Commission, I know I'd asked to clarify to Mr. Swain's point. You had mentioned that the stormwater pond would be to the left of the entrance. I'm assuming that the signage will be to the right. I didn't see much about the
entrance. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really see much about that.
Let me see if it's on the GDP. We do have an entrance feature shown so if you look on sheet 3, it's kind of hard to see here, but when you come in, the entrance feature is going to be right here on the corner. And then right behind that is the pump station for the sewer. And then we're going to have a stormwater area there before you hit that first lot.
And that's going to meet the approval of the Chesapeake Bay Water Act?
Yes, all of that's like fully gone through. Everything's going to meet the water quality and water quantity requirements for the state.
Very good. Are there any other questions from this council at this time? Well, Valerie asked them all.
I want to see anybody else that won't take as long.
But you have a bunch too?
Oh yeah, I got some stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Ready for a vote?
I will go next. I will go. All right. Okay. I will. I do want to point out one little concern. We're asking, Valerie and I are asking a lot of questions, and some, not all, but a lot of these questions, we are getting answers on, but they're not, proffered answers. These are things that take with the assumption that it gets done, but it's not in writing on all of these things. But okay, meals tax. Ms. Town Manager, could you get me a ballpark of what last year's meals tax was in total, by chance? And just a ballpark, it doesn't need to be anything like exact or year-to-date.
325.
325. Okay. Well, 325. Stupid thing. Well, I mean, 30% of that's 100. So that math, kind of tracks out. If that were 325, 30% getting in there, spending in town, I just wanted to make that real quick. But, okay.
I will say that their assumptions did include the new meals tax rate of 7% for that fiscal year.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't have kicked in yet. That's true. Yeah, that would make that a little higher. So that tracks. I want to bring up an interesting one, noise. Not from them to the rest of the town, but if we're using that park and there's no transitional element into the housing and everything, if we did want to do music on the green and stuff like that, like kind of dovetailing with what the base was saying about disclosures, like, that kind of needs to be understood by the residents that, there's going to be things possibly happening in that park that you may not like. No, you can get a permit for that here in town.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But with what I just said about the proper conditions and everything, like because it's easy, I'm going to go back to the bathroom thing. Like I don't see anything on the GDP here other than the square where the bathroom's supposed to go. So I don't see anything definitive about what that would look like, entail, or anything like that. And same with many of these. But I'm going to move on to the sidewalks and streets. And I'm going to bring up from the single-family homes in the back. When those individuals, which I think would be a pretty decent amount of the people there that would be living, would want to use the park, they would have to walk all the way around. And the way those sidewalks work, there is no sidewalk turning into the alleys, and there's no cut through on, like, say, the north end, like going between anybody's houses. So not only do I see that happening, because a lot of kids and everything, they walk up that sidewalk, and then we expect them to continue on the sidewalk, go in front of all the townhouses, and then turn in the actual entrance to the park, and then go in from there. No, I think they'll cut through the alleys. And likewise, some of them may, cut through the housing, parcels themselves. So, without the transitions, I do see that as a bit of an issue. Sure, I guess it's a problem for the HOA and the residents, but I still see that as a potential issue. Now, here's one I don't know, but maybe you can speculate on this answer. How do you foresee the school bus drop-offs going? I don't have a whole lot of experience myself inside HOAs, and I bring that up to come to this entrance with where we come in, and what is that, 150 feet before the turn of the commercial?
I would have to measure, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, there's going to be a lot of...
It looks like it's 300 feet.
Okay, way up, 300 feet, okay. Coming in there, it's going to be, so many people want to make a right turn for practically everything. So I see that sometimes being a bottleneck, but with that being where the trail stops, where everything kind of converges there, I'm a little bit concerned about, I don't know if the school buses are going to drop at each individual house or do what I see them do in a lot of places and try to drop them off at a landing zone. And
That's a great question that it's probably more directed towards the school. I'm not exactly
okay,
sure.
I didn't know because we had talked to them.
Sure, but if they did prefer to have some sort of like drop zone, this is where we're going to pick up all the kids, I think that's something we could certainly accommodate.
Okay. Going back to the thing about closing the park, I'm fine with how the park is here. I'd maybe be interested, though, and it could be a discussion for town later, but is there a way to maybe do like time locks on the bathroom at night, just so people aren't going in there at 3 a.m? But I think putting bars and gates and things, especially with the housing backing up against it, is kind of fruitless. You talked about the VDOT stuff and talked about phasing. I think Valerie got the rest of what I had, so I'm actually done.
Are there any other questions from this council? I'd like to ask council to put forth some sort of a motion. John, won't you do it?
There's nothing in the book about it, right? So I'll stumble through this one again.
Do you want me?
First of all, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
If council would like consider a motion to approve, it could be framed like this. A motion to approve rezoning case 26-01 as presented, including the modifications recommended by staff and the written proffers submitted by the applicant.
I'll make that motion and proffers of 35 to 45 feet, the lesser feet of.
You don't need to add to it.
Oh, okay. I'll make the motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion from Council Hageman, a second from Councilman Stork. Is there any further discussion on this matter?
Yeah, I just have something to say. And I know it might be a hassle or an annoyance, but this is a project that has been going on for years.
Down the damn road.
And you know what, Randy? Let me just say this. It has been massaged. It has gotten to the point where it is a good functioning development. Now, for me, I spent years on Planning Commission, and it really irks me when I get people that give me the faces or the whatever because they don't understand a damn thing about land use or planning. We are asking these questions because we want to know everything that will transpire for the safety and welfare of the town and the people that are going to move into this place. Frankly, for me, apartments and townhouses are going to go a lot faster than a $500,000 home. But to sit there and give the whatevers because we're asking questions ticks me off. And you don't want me to be ticked off because now I'm crazy woman. But frankly, read our comp plan, take land use classes, and understand what people are asking. We have a right to understand what's happening with the developer. We've gone through this many times. We're always the people that are being told from Planning Commission that we don't want development. Damn wrong. I want development in this town. I want the right one. And this has taken years. I am all in for PUDs. And this is a well-thought-out plan. It is the rezoning that we're here for. We're not going to be able to give comment at the site approval. We don't have a public hearing for that. We just want understanding that what's being told to us is not going to change 3 months down the road. So I apologize for being crazed, but it's become years in the making of hearing all of this from people who don't understand things.
On the heels of our vice mayor, I'm not quite as impassioned, but I was on Planning Commission. This project came before us 5 years ago, and we would not approve it for town council. This new project, Webb and Associates have gone through and met almost every single one of the criteria that we said, this is why we don't want to approve it. This man has worked with the Planning Commission. His company has worked with Planning Commission, and I personally was very pleased with this new project. I mean, I was thrilled when I saw it because it was like, oh my gosh, he listened to the Planning Commission. He took what we had to say seriously, and it's a good-looking project, in my opinion, but I don't get to vote. Are there any other comments? Would you, go ahead, Mr. Stork.
All I say is, I'm pleased with the changes. I'm pleased with the work the developers put into it. I'm certainly pleased with the ones of you that have been on council when this started. I think it's a great project. I think it's what we need. We're going to keep taxing the same 1,100 people to death unless we grow. And that 301 corridor, that special tax district, that's where we, in the 80s when council annexed that land, it was for growth. And we're finally seeing some of the fruits of the labors. And so I appreciate your passion. I hope I didn't give you any looks. But I mean, the only thing I had a problem with back when it was turned down the first time before I got back on council was it got mixed in with the water issue, and it kind of tainted it for me. But I'm just tickled to death we're at this point, and thank everybody for the work. And I appreciate all the good questions because detail is important.
At this time, oh, okay.
I appreciate that you appreciate the questions, Dave. We didn't have the time to really massage the project last time. We were inundated with,
with two projects.
Because of the entanglement with the water thing, coming up with more ideas for the project was kind of at a stopping point. We solved that issue. We moved on from there, and it came back, thankfully, because I do agree with you. That area has sat for a very long time. It should have something done with it. And so we have what I do think is a better project than before. I'm very happy with a lot of it. But because we didn't really get maybe as into it last time as we could have, because we had what some of us thought was a stopping point, it really didn't evolve as much as it could have. Now it has that opportunity. And, to be frank, it's gone a lot faster right now. Now, a lot of that is due to what, I saw as very impressive work on staff's part to get everything together, and it was presented very well. And also with staff working with the firm to get things where they need to be. But it is moving a lot faster. Now, we and I would understand the opinion of dragging everything out, the time before. That, that's one side of things, and, that's in the past. But, it doesn't mean to not do any due diligence. So I did want to ask every possible question I could think of. Going back to what she was saying, like, passing tonight, it's done. We're hands off. And, that 140 acres over there, this is 20. So now we're down to 120 acres left of really undeveloped tap potential of that town. So it does take away from it. So it is our job to go through these things and not stop anything. I don't want to. But I do want to isolate some things. And there were a few things I noticed, like I questioned about that, were things that are not, set in stone. And if those are things you're okay with, so be it. But there were parts of this thing that, like I'm not going to go buy a townhouse, but there is a demand for a lot of these things, and I've heard that from multiple sources, and says so in the reports that we have. So this project does tick the boxes. It does meet everything that the Planning Commission suggested and Council deliberated over with those updates 3 years ago to modify things to make a project like this more desirable. But
Jeff, I'll just interrupt you. I think one of the things we're dancing around before is, and you basically articulated it, we've got a professional staff now that has done a lot of the heavy lifting. Back then, you guys were doing your job as councilman plus staff. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't thank our staff because they've done a lot of the heavy lifting this time and brought us and worked out a good product. So.
It made it much easier, and I don't want to go back to doing that and having to make spreadsheets and PowerPoints and things like that. That was more than was needed to do.
You worked hard on Planning Commission.
Well, and I don't regret doing it. I mean, somebody needed to do it, but it put certain of us in some funny positions, which is why we weren't able to, going back to we kind of stopped at the water thing because that was honestly, that was really the only thing that we had any real data for, and then doing the other things, I don't think we were even, the staff time just wasn't there at the time.
So we have a motion on the table. Are we all good? Is it time to take a roll? Okay. Deputy Clerk, please take a roll for this.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Hageman.
Yes.
Councilmember Stork.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanel.
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt.
I'm gonna go home.
Yes. Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. I would like to ask Mr. Webb to please rejoin his posse up here. Okay, we're going to move on to item 21, fiscal year 2027 compensation direction. Planning Commission and Economic Development Authority.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At our previous meeting, there was a discussion related to compensation for both the Planning Commission as well as the EDA. So as we head into the FY27 budget process, just need direction from council as to the amount that you all wish to compensate both the EDA and the Planning Commission for the upcoming year.
Do we know what it was before?
I have heard everything from $100 to $50, but I don't know that I have anything specific.
Planning Commission
I want to say it was.
was $100 a year, and then the 1 year, no one got a paycheck, so. Yes, sir.
Should David and I recuse ourselves from this because we're both on the EDA?
Well, the EDA has never gotten paid before.
No, they haven't.
That's probably true, but the code says that you may be paid. So if we're talking about the Planning Commission, I thought that it would be best to talk about both of the boards that we have as part of the discussion from an equity perspective.
Okay, if that's the case, I was going to say, there are only 4 people left on here if we recuse the people, so I need to.
It's not a conflict under the State Conflicts of Interest Act unless you're going to get paid more than $10,000 for it. Yeah.
The mayor needs a raise.
Good question, though.
Something was said in one meeting, and I don't know what it was, but it was like $15 a meeting? Is that what it was for the zone planning and zoning? That's what it used to be or something? Is that $15 a meeting?
No, because that would be more than $100.
It'd be 12. It'd be 12 at $100 if you do meet once a month.
I don't know. It's a number I heard someplace floating around here. I don't know if it's in an EDA meeting.
$12 a meeting would be $120 just for 10 meetings.
It's late.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's way less than
I
that.
did that way wrong.
And on average, I would say you probably have 10 meetings, actual meetings a year. Two meetings usually get canceled between the holidays and a summer meeting.
Yeah, for Planning Commission and EDA, they're probably the same.
Same.
Well, I certainly.
For the EDA, being on the EDA, I can't imagine anything the rest of the guys do. Y'all got a big educational piece to it. I can see it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work on it.
So, I'm just speaking on myself and the EDA. I don't think the guys will ever
have any problem with not having a salary. I wouldn't want to take it away from the Planning Commission that does have to get training and stuff like that.
Well, we could, we could just exclude the council reps on both boards from it.
I don't have a problem with what David said either. I mean, I went on the EDA knowing that there was no salary. It doesn't matter to me. I went on it because I wanted to be on it to help the town. So, there.
I don't need candy. Candy.
I'd also just share, Madam Mayor, that the town does pay for those who are new to the Planning Commission who need to get trained. The town does pay for
Pays for their schooling,
Yeah,
yes.
for the classes.
Yes, to become certified planning commissioner.
We reimburse them.
Yes.
And what does the how often do they meet?
Oh, once a month. And sometimes they have work sessions over and above that. You said you reimburse them, because when I took my classes town hall set my classes up and paid for it and told me when I was to start.
Yeah,
So-
I think we reimbursed them, but I
So
could be
you
confused.
changed that protocol.
I'm not, don't quote me on it, it's very late. And I've worked in a lot of places, but I think we did have reimbursed them because I think we wanted to ensure that they went through the class and did the work before they got their money.
Well, and that was something I was going to interject because we did have one commissioner that they paid to take the classes and they never did. So I get it. So is there a motion? Direction? We don't need a motion. Staff needs direction.
Voted to remove it.
Voted what, to remove?
Remove the salary.
Well, it wasn't removed from planning commission. It was just for that 1 year when everyone took a break, and then it should have been it was reinstated. I got a check my last year on there. 100.
I make a motion that we compensate the planning commission $100 a year. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And no compensation for the EDA members.
A motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Deputy Clerk, would you please take a roll call for this since it's a financial decision?
Councilmember Gaither?
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Stork?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle?
Yes.
Councilmember Chenault?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
I'll just abstain being on it.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
The vote is 6 with 1 abstention. Motion passes. Moving on to item 22, we went into closed session to review applications for EDA appointment, Economic Development Authority appointment, and I'm going to turn this over to Miss India Adams Jacobs at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You had 3 applicants for consideration, and so council can make the draft motion entering the applicant that they would like to appoint to the EDA at this time.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mary McManus to the EDA.
I have a motion from Ms. McManus to be appointed to the EDA. There's a second from Councilwoman Davis. Is there any discussion about this?
And I think for the record, just to make sure I'm clear, to fill the expired term of Dirk Farmer to expire August 28th.
Yes.
Any discussion? So at this time, those who are in favor of this appointment, raise your right hand. Well, motion passes unanimously. All right, next we have consideration of legal services agreement for delinquent tax collection. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In close, you have a draft of a legal service agreement for delinquent tax collection with tax. The town prior used tax in 2017, 2018, and then somewhere during those staff transitions, the delinquent notices and the information provided to tax lapsed through those years. Obviously, now that we have a new financial system in place, we want to ensure that we are collecting all of the taxes that are due to the town, and the partnership and the agreement with tax will allow us to pursue that option, and that is before you for consideration.
Have all of you looked at this in your packet? I was assured by the town manager that with our new financial system, that anybody who is going to be the recipient of delinquent tax collection services towards them, that they actually are delinquent in their taxes. We, within, I believe she said, 98% so we don't have to worry about having any faux pas. Would someone like to make a motion? Okay,
I'll do it. I move that the town council approve the legal service agreement with Taxing Authority Consulting Services, PC, tax, for delinquent tax collection services, and authorize the town manager to execute the agreement and the necessary documents on behalf of the town of Bowling Green.
I second.
I have a motion from Mr. Hageman, a second from Mr. Webb. Is there any further discussion? I would like for the deputy clerk to take a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hagan.
Yes.
Councilmember Stork.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coyle.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanel.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Boyd.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah.
Motion passes. Next item on here is clean sweep. It's May 16th, 2026. That's all you need to know. You got a flyer. We will dispense with public comment because there's no public. We're going to move on to member comments. Ms. Davis. Mr. Voigt.
I got some questions.
Go ahead.
No, good enough.
I was going to leave. Mr. Webb. Dr. Chenault. Ms. Coyle.
I think I said enough.
We're punch drunk.
I'm good.
You're done. How about you?
Fine.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
I have a motion. There's a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Yay, we are adjourned.